Hi, so I wanted to look at the next step in our series of mixing massive drums. And today we're going to be looking at parallel compression. So let's have a look. Without parallel compression, here's our drums. Now, how I set up parallel compression is I usually have one or two buses. Right now I've got two buses in parallel with compression on that. Over the course of the mix, I will start to feed more and more of typically the kick and the snare, but just whatever needs it within the drum kit when I feel like I've lost the attack. Now, you can use parallel compression in a number of ways, and you can use it for filling out underneath without adding any extra attack. That's 100% doable and probably a little bit more typical. The way I'm doing it here is just the way that I'm doing it at the moment, and that might change in a week's time. But let's have a look. So we have this distressor plugin here, and if we bring in the parallel compression, what I'm looking for is more punch. Okay, so if we listen in for that punch here, and I unmute. We get that punch. We also get a little bit of weight as well from it being parallel compression. And yeah, so let's have a look. So we've got a pretty medium attack, pretty medium release, a 3:1 ratio, so not very high. No distortion circuits running. The British mode's off. We're just trying to focus on the compression circuit of this compressor. I love this distressor emulation. It's really nice. Use it on a lot of things. And yeah, so if we think about what the attack being medium is doing, is it's letting the transient through to a degree. It's obviously maybe not letting the whole transient through, but it's basically most of that initial hit, right? And so how I'm using this is I want more of that initial hit. And so if I dial this attack to 0, you'll feel that initial hit is gone. It's not as clear, it's not as attacking as it is without. So we can feel that in the kick and the snare there, we've lost that punch. Let me dial it back up. Now, I'm never mixing in solo like this, but this is just to show you. But when we have it, and let's actually bring it into context here. When we have it in context, you'll see, let's bring this out, that when actually let's leave that for now. When I bring this down, the attack of the drums is significantly lower. So you can see there, when I bring it back up to 5, we get a little bit of that snap at the beginning. And so then as I'm mixing, I'm just feeding a little bit more whenever I feel like we need a bit more of that snap coming through. And I don't have to go back and dramatically change what I've done. It's just feeding a little bit more into an aux. Now I actually have a second bus here. I have a parallel smash bus, which is this LA3A. Let's bring this over here. So it's limiting, it's in limiting mode. And so what that's doing is really not giving you much more in terms of transient. It's just bringing up the body, right? So let's have a listen. to me, I get a lot of body of the snare here. You know, I get a lot of that meatiness of the snare if you listen. And it has a character to it, and that's why we use analog emulations, is to give some character from the original unit that's been modeled into this plugin, right? Like if I just wanted a flat compressed signal underneath or a limited signal underneath, I could use the stock limiter and that would do fine for that. But it's got its own character as well. It's manipulating everything, the transients, the frequency in a specific way that sounds good. And if it doesn't sound good, I would try something else. And there are times where this doesn't sound good to me, and therefore I can just swap out to a different compressor. But yeah, so essentially that's giving me a lot of the body, because it's taking that transient off the top, right? So it's essentially limiting, and then we're bringing that just kind of underneath, and you can feel the difference. I also get it in the kind of meatiness of the kick as well. So yeah, that's kind of how I use parallel compression for mixing massive rock drums.